Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As always, thank you so much for joining me for today's episode. Today is a very special episode for me because we are looking at a new fantastic figure from Random Treasures. Now, this is actually one of those figures that I wanted customized probably within the last year or two, and I've gone through other local customizers, other friends that I've asked to customize this particular figure for me. Why? Because I don't just like just general customs. I like to look at the back of the card, and I love being able to look at originality, the original designs that LJN came up with when they were going to release figures. And there were so many different figures that were originally planned during the release of certain characters, and obviously later on they went with some different color scheme, or they went with a different pose. For example, Mean Gene Okerlund, completely different pose than what was originally planned. Freddie Blassie, different pose. Elizabeth had, I believe she had long purple scarves on her or gloves on her arms up to her elbows. Hillbilly Jim, black shirt, red pants for Ricky Steamboat. There was a scarf for Adrian Adonis. So there were so many different designs that were thrown around, and man, I wanted them all. And there's quite a few of those customs I've actually acquired over the last couple of years, and I can say, hey, I have X custom or X prototype on hand, and I'm so proud to have it. Some of them are a lot easier to customize than others. For example, Hillbilly Jim with just a black t-shirt. That can be done all day long. But some of the figures, like the one we're going to look at today, immeasurable. What we're looking at is Tito Santana. So, Tito Santana, this is the original prototype that LJN was planning. And here it is, 30 odd years later, almost, well, about 40 years later, let's round it off, 40 something years later, you finally get the original design that LJN was planning. So, when we were originally talking about these figures, and we've got the original release of Tito Santana. You got the Tito Santana figure, and then you look at the back of the card. This is the actual design that was originally planned. And so what I really love is that Net did a fantastic job with this figure, and the folks at Print Fairy, and they were able to give you that exact duplicate of what was planned. Zashman, another fantastic customizer, does a really amazing work, but they do resin work, right? So getting this in rubber form, you have no idea how much of a huge difference that makes. Who's another one? George Steele. Freaking George Steele with the hair on the chest. I think that's such a huge upgrade. Now, I'm not willing to go out and pay $150 for a George Steele just to add hair, but yeah, I mean, if they could get one where it's reasonably priced, $50 to add that hair design, I would buy the heck out of that. And in fact, yeah, here he is, just right next to him. And right next to that, Ricky Steamboat. I actually own this Ricky Steamboat, so that's pretty awesome. And kind of going through here, I obviously own the custom, or the, well, it is a custom, but it's the prototype of what Hillbilly Jim was supposed to look like with black shirt, right? Johnny Valiant had a different look. Coco Beware had a different look. All of these different figures. I mean, you go up and down the line of LJNs. Almost all the figures are going to be different in some capacity from the original designs. So, that is pretty fantastic. I like this figure. And here's a kind of... here is the funny thing that I find with this particular LJN. Alright, so... You get Tito Santana. This is the original design of what was supposed to be released. You know me, first and foremost, I am a play first guy, right? Play pose is number one thing I look for. In this particular instance, I'm kind of like putting play pose off to the side because I'm not expecting play pose to be through the roof fantastic, because this is the design that LJN was planning, right? So this is what you're expecting. When Ram Treasures did the 2-up of Ron Simmons, I hated Ron Simmons' Galoob as a kid. I used it because I had to. I didn't have any other figures, or, you know, too many figures to choose from, right? So, yeah, you kind of use what you have available. So figures like Scott Steiner and freaking Ron Simmons from Galoob, terrible figures, but you made use out of them. Brutus Beefcake, Hasbro, or stuff like that, right? Bad figures, but you may do. So when Ram Treasures did their 2-up of Ron Simmons, you weren't fussing about fighting pose or anything like that, because they were just pumping up the size of that figure. And I kind of like the Galoob 2-up, you know, in rubber form as LJN style. Can't stand it as a Galoob 4-inch figure, but as a LJN, looks pretty freaking solid, if you ask me. This figure, adequate figure, fighting pose wise. I think a lot of kids would have got a lot of enjoyment from it. With the arm downward, is it the most enjoyable playable figure ever? Of course not, but it's definitely light years better than what you got with, in terms of, like, I pulled out for the Strike Force Tito. So purple or white Tito, whichever one you grab. I can't even tell you my dismay about the original, or the original released Tito Santana figure. I despise this figure to no end. There's so many things I find wrong with this figure. One, extra thin, right? So that is terrible. I love that she made this figure a little bit more bulky. I think that is fantastic. And you might not think that the bulk of the figure, and what do I say? Grip. The grip of an action figure is just as important as the play pose, and sometimes might even be more important of the play pose. Junkyard Dog LJN. Fantastic play pose, but the grip of the figure is terrible. So when you're holding it, it's just not enjoyable for usage, right? So very thin, just terrible aesthetically in that area. Arms out. You would think an arms out play pose would be really freaking solid, and it's not. Sorry, part of the championship belt keeps coming off. What was I saying? Oh, arms out. You think arms out be a fantastic play pose? No. There is a reason Tito Santana is one of the 10, in fact, one of the top 3, top 4 worst LJN figures ever created. And when you're side by side, neck to neck to freaking Jimmy Snuka, okay, for worst figures, that just shows you how bad of a figure it is. Play pose is straight garbage. The look is horrendous. The head, the Tito Santana Series 3 or the Tito Santana Series 5, they use the same exact head. It's just the exact same figure with a different repaint. This is Tito Santana. That is a fantastic look. I've talked about, yeah, this is, there's not really much of a change, to be honest. Yeah, so like guys like Ricky Steamboat, I mean, that's like really the mega changes. But Tito Santana to me always kind of remained, even in the 90s, kind of remained the same. So I don't know. There's not really much of a change, I would say, that you can make. I've talked about guys like Ricky Steamboat, where I would love to see a new Ricky Steamboat where he was like in his full Dragon gear via Hasbro era. So I would like to see that, because I'm not a fan of the Ricky Steamboat figure, or yeah, the Ricky Steamboat LJN, right? Incredible. One of the biggest problems, or I don't want to say problems, one of the biggest confusions, I would say, that I have with this particular design. Think of it this way. It's Series 3. So, original Series 1, 84. So, Series 3 in 86, right? This is designed. But you end up coming out with this instead. Very next series. It's 1987. It's Series 4. And you come out with Bret Hart. Okay, you get Bret Hart. Look at that. It is literally the exact same freaking figure. You had the mold and you ended up using it anyways. Now, given you ended up using it for a character that was 10,000 times better, but still, you could have improved upon your original design with at least this figure. Now, LJN didn't have a ton of figures. I mean, they had less than 80 figures. I mean, when you start throwing in all of the variants, yeah, it starts building the number up. I think original figures was like 72 or somewhere in that neighborhood. With variants, it started bringing it up to around 80 or so. But the thing is, I like the fact that there's not a lot of fighting poses that are duplicated. Growing up with Hasbro's, still my all-time favorite line. Most definitely the greatest toy line of existence, no doubt. But Hasbro did nothing but reutilize the same body types over and over again. So, I love the fact that at one, LJN, for the most part, only utilized one character. They didn't really release them several times over. And two, they basically gave them, for the most part, different fighting poses. Big John Studd is very similar to Hogan. I got it. And Hogan and Andre and Kamala all basically have roughly the same fighting pose. But those four men all with bent knees, arms roughly in the same area, give or take. They're generally the same figures, but I love those figures. There's a reason they're in the top 4 of best figures, right? So, you could have still come out with this figure in Series 3 and made a much better Tito Santana and kept your Bret Hart figure in Series 4. And we all give so much credit to Bret Hart being an awesome figure only because it's Bret Hart. If this was just some random character that we didn't care about, I'm kind of looking at the shelf. I'm thinking about someone that I don't think much about. Jesse Ventura, I don't know. Bob Orton, I don't know much, or I don't know anything about Bob Orton. So if Bob Orton had this pose, would he be on my list of top 15 favorite LJNs? Probably not. This is nothing more than a right hand punch only figure. So this figure is essentially useless. So yeah, I got Bret Hart on my number 13 or so as my all-time favorite LJN, but it's not that great of a figure. I'm impressed. I think Random Treasures did an absolutely outstanding job with the figure. Rubber looks fantastic. The look, the head sculpt is incredible. I'm not going to say anything about the fighting pose because they're just mimicking the original design, and that's perfectly acceptable in this case. If this was like a brand new figure, brand new character, yeah, I would talk about fighting pose because it's not the best. But again, it's a prototype-esque figure, so I am thrilled. I am through the roof excited about getting this in. And I was on Facebook, and Ram Treasures had just posted a photo of this figure. I'm like, oh heck yeah. Normally I'm on Etsy every day, so I'm constantly checking their page to see if they got new figures in. And over the last few months, I've actually started using Facebook more often. Not really post or leave a lot of messages or anything. I just get on there and look at funny memes and stuff like that. But occasionally I'll see stuff like messages from Ram Treasures, and I think I've been able to find a couple figures that way. So that helps big time. One downside, the belt. Oof. Don't worry, I contacted Net today, and Net, she's awesome. She always gives you the best customer service. I really enjoy speaking with her and doing business with her because I'm like, hey, I sent a picture. I'm like, hey, can I get a replacement? I'm having some issues with the championship belt, and kind of way that she described it, and this is also interesting because I'm not a customizer. I don't know how to build and create things. So it's nice to hear the process in creating these things. And I guess you need more time to let something sit. And maybe that's why, like, my Haku figure and some of my other LJNs, like my original Series 6 or the Random Treasures version of original Series 6 Rick Rude, why his head is why there's paint loss and, you know, figures like that, why that's happening. Maybe it just didn't have enough time to situate, and that's why the paint's cracking. So it kind of makes sense now, and I understand it. But she is going to get me a new championship belt. Look, at $15 a piece, it's up there. But man, you know how I am. I have OCD, and I want every single one of my LJNs to have championship belts. I want every single one of my freaking customs to have belts. At 300 plus figures, man, that's crazy expensive. After about 100 belts or so, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But getting that green championship belt for Tito Santana, his Intercontinental belt and everything, I'm like, you know what, that's awesome. So I needed it for this particular figure. It bleeds in beautifully. Think about the blue or the green heavyweight belt for Bob Backlund, right? It was a necessity. So you kind of get the same sort of green belt for Tito. Think about his Intercontinental run, whatnot. It makes sense. Awesome figure. All right, guys. What time we at? We're at 6. Oh, shoot. I kind of feel like ever since I started filming on the cell phone that I've been having to rush through my videos because you never know how much space is on your phone. And I always feel like my phone is going to shut out, you know, in the middle of my video. And I always feel like forced to rush through. Otherwise, I should have just taken my time and just talked naturally. Yeah, I was kind of expecting this to be like a 30-minute video. But I just wanted to get the opportunity to make this video and give a shout out to Net for producing just an incredible figure. And I love being able to give shout outs when there's some amazing products coming out. So doing reviews for figures I just so severely love. They just mean the world. So I also want to give a shout out to one of my biggest fans, Jason Nupp. Yes, you guys know him, Jason Nupp from New 80s Revolution. So, Jason, as I said, one of my biggest fans, one of my best supporters. Jason, man, he's been retired from YouTube for a month or two now, give or take, probably a couple months. And, you know, Jason, you know, he still makes time to unretire, to come back on YouTube and make videos and talk about me and bring me up, talk about things that I've said in my videos and whatnot. And I'm like, you know what, man? Go ahead and spread the love, brother. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. You know, in advertisement, word of mouth is probably one of the best things. You know, we all can't go out there and freaking hire Mr. Beast or Michael freaking Jordan to advertise our product, right? So a lot of times word of mouth is basically all that we've got. So when Jason goes onto his channel and in front of his 5,000 subs and starts talking about my channel and bring me up and everything on a consistent basis, I'm like, brother, you rock, dude. That means the world. And I like giving shout outs to my biggest fans, some of my best supporters. So that was pretty incredible of him as well. So I just wanted to say thank you to Jason. Awesome dude. Right on, man. All right. Today is, what's today? Today is Thursday the 29th. So this video I'm planning on posting probably maybe Tuesday. So Tuesday will probably be the 3rd, I believe. Yeah, I think Sunday's the 1st. So Tuesday the 3rd. I have a video scheduled for Friday, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday is going to be the 3 episodes of the tournament. I think that's what I'm going to start doing. Have maybe like 3 episodes of the My Favorite LJN tournament, and then probably put out an episode or probably put out an episode or 2 of what video I want to make for that particular day, or whether they're magazine review videos, if they're shout out videos or review videos, some kind of rant video. I mean, whatever. There's a lot of horror. There's a lot of horror videos, man, I want to make that I've been putting off because when I decided to make the LJN tournament, it basically put everything else on hiatus. But it seems like the LJN videos were something that a lot of people are really enjoying. So yeah, and like I said, that's gonna be a long drawn out process. That's probably gonna take me well into January or even February of 2025. 320 plus figures, man. I don't know if I can add him. I mean, at the end of round 1, if I have any figures, like if I have 1 figure left over and no competition, instead of doing a one-on-one matchup and choosing 1 figure to move forward or 2 of those 3 figures to move forward, I can add this figure into the tournament and make him a special late entrant into the tournament. So it is awesome to get a new figure right now because it's still early enough in my video filming that it's not like I got this in the 2nd or 3rd round, right? So yes, we very well could see, and probably a 98% chance, we will see the Tito Santana prototype in the My Favorite LJN tournament. Because I enjoy this figure, I'm hoping to see him go multiple rounds. Is he going to win? I don't think any Tito Santana has a chance of ever winning, but it's still going to be great to be able to introduce the figure and talk about him a little bit more in those tournament videos. So guys, if you haven't done so already and you love the prototype and this is something that you were looking for as a child, or if you're a collector and you're like me, you just got into this business of collecting a few years back, and suddenly this stuff right here means the world to you, yeah, look at Round Treasures. They, it's a small business. You're supporting a great small company. So, and I may not be a fan of every figure that I see, but I do buy every figure I see. And when we get really awesome ones like this, I'm really proud to be able to make videos in support of her company. And yeah, that's all, guys. I'd recommend getting the belt. Don't let this belt right here deter you guys any. The championship belts are always so well made, and it's always the one accessory or the one item on her site that I always would recommend. Out of the 100 or so belts I bought, this is like the first time I've ever had an issue with any of the championship belts. And like I said, I think because she said that she took it off, she didn't let it dry or whatever happened, that she sent it out too soon. I think that's why it's peeling. But like I said, all the other belts, I've never had any issues, so don't let that detract. And like I said, I reached out to her and she's going to supply me a new belt, so I'm not concerned. And yeah, that's it for the video, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching, and tomorrow we go back to the My Favorite LJN tournament, and I think that's, and again, because I'm filming this ahead of those episodes, I think we should be on episode 10 by then. So yeah, that sounds about right, episode 10. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later.